Welcome to the third episode of Come Talk About Sports here from WQAQ 98.1 at Quinnipiac University. Today I'm with Jakob Potemri. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Doing great. We're going to start off. We've been waiting to start this convo. We're going to start with some Jeff Teague slander. We absolutely despise Jeff Teague as a Boston Celtics fan. What do you hate the most about Jeff Teague?
What I hate the most about Jeff Teague is that for his whole career, Jeff Teague has been a very consistent point guard for a team. He's never been really a superstar, but he's been that kind of guy that he can get you 10, 12 points a night. He has those quick drives to the hoop. But in the past couple of years, you can tell that he's aging and he isn't able to do his job as well. So I thought with like Jeff Teague coming off the bench, Kemba Walker was still injured. Jeff Teague could have had a true impact on our team, but instead his age is just impacting his play. But, things could be better for the Celtics right now.
We could talk about Teague all day, but he has been a pretty big disappointment, but thank God for Peyton Pritchard. He's been stepping up big time. Jeff Teague's what his role is supposed to be. Jeff Teague hasn't played the last two games, I want to say now, and his most recent game, he had 3 turnovers, 0 for 2. Did not look good at all. Well, let's move on to the next. Are you worried about the Boston Celtics?
Am I worried about the Boston Celtics? I am not worried about the Boston Celtics. I think that the Boston Celtics can play really well if their superstars are not only scoring effectively, but also passing to their teammates when they're in wide open areas. I think Kemba is improving. I think Kemba looks a lot more confident on the court. His quickness seems to be back. He's had 3 20-point games in the past week. I think if all of these players can come together and if we possibly get one other mid-level player that can help us with scoring and can help us with some plays, I think the Celtics could have a true chance to run deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, I can see the same thing. Right now they've been really slow, and a team that's been catching up on them is Toronto Raptors, who started off slow. Now they have a bad record on them. But I'm not that concerned about Boston. They've shown Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they came up and started getting it going, but they need that one more stud. Not a stud guy, but something like Harrison Barnes is who I love. He's a mid-level dude who can maybe top-notch the teams. They need another bench guy. Pritchard is in there. I'll give it. Robert Williams has been stepping up. He has been a decent center. I'm not afraid to trade him in a package, so it's one guy. Maybe you can show, say, teams, see, Robert Williams has been amazing, but don't be afraid to trade that man. But let's go to the next topic. Who do you want the Boston Celtics to trade for?
Who do I want the Boston Celtics to trade for? That's honestly a hard question, but I think the best piece that the Boston Celtics could trade for is a scoring forward who can help out some of the young guys off the bench, could even come in and start. I love a guy like Harrison Barnes, but if I'm the Sacramento Kings, I'm not trading him right now. He's been playing exceptionally well for them. But off the top of my head, I like maybe Terrence Ross on the Orlando Magic.
He's been on fire lately.
He's like a bench player for them. He scores very well. He can come off the bench. He's a veteran. He can help the young guys. Besides that, I think after the All-Star break, Marcus Smart will be back. Romeo Langford will be back. Romeo Langford, a solid bench piece. We drafted him in 2019. He can defend, he can score, and I think he's a guy the Celtics could utilize well. Of course, we always need Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is a bulldog.
You always need that, man.
Marcus Smart has crazy intangibles. He's a bulldog on defense. He can score rapidly. He can do whatever the team needs him to do. If Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker aren't one of those two guys, they're not putting in their utmost effort, you can count on Marcus Smart to always be in there and giving it his all whenever he's on the court.
Yeah, Marcus Smart is a guy we definitely do miss a lot in Boston right now, who should be back soon. Hopefully before the All-Star break, but have him healthy for the playoffs we need. But I'm going to go with a different dude who kind of been under the radar this year. He's a veteran, proven himself. But I like Garrett Temple down in Chicago. He has been solo this year, averaging around 10 points per game. If you get Garrett Temple on the cheap, maybe throw in 2 second-rounders or something like that. But I like Garrett Temple as a cheap guy. Well, let's move on to a new team, or maybe you'll think the Boston Celtics will. But this is my question. What is your team that you think will break out in the second half of the season?
My team that I think will break out in the second half of the season. That's honestly a tough one, but I think, like what you brought up with the Toronto Raptors, I think the Toronto Raptors have a great chance to break out. I mean, Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry's aging, but he's still playing.
He might get traded
well.
also. Who knows with Kyle Lowry?
There's a Kyle Lowry. They have Chris Boucher, who's stepping up big for them. The Raptors needed a center. He's come out. He's played in clutch. Pascal Siakam, very good forward. OG Anunoby, good player. Norman Powell off the bench. If I could see, there are talks that the Raptors are going to try to, like Andre Drummond on the Cavaliers, there's a chance he's going to end up in a buyout. I think that the Raptors are one of the teams that may try to go after him. And if the Raptors get somebody like Andre Drummond, that team is going to be very hard to stop come playoff time.
Yeah, that team will definitely be amazing if they get Drummond. Drummond is a big dude there. If he can learn his role on a champion team, maybe having a whole different combo. But the team I'm going to go with is really under the radar, but they've been struggling. That's the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee Bucks, everybody thought they won in the East. Easily, Giannis maybe win 3 in a row for MVP, but Milwaukee, they haven't been great. But Drew Holiday, they've been missing him big time. They want Drew Holiday back. They need him back. Middleton's been in a little slump. Giannis, he's been great, but not at MVP level. This team will start, I think they have a solid chance at being the 1 seed. It's either going to be them or Brooklyn 1 and 2. They're going to start heating up, and they're going to be legit threats. But now let's talk about the team who is number 1 in the East right now. 76ers. Are they the real deal?
So, here's the thing. I think right now, this is very bold for me to say as a Boston Celtics fan, I think the Philadelphia 76ers are the best team in the Eastern Conference. I mean, Joel Embiid, MVP season. He has every complaint we have had about Joel Embiid, he is broke out of everything. He is averaging ridiculous numbers. He is currently the favorite to win MVP. Ben Simmons hasn't been scoring as much, but like somebody like Marcus Smart, he's been there for all the intangibles. They have great scoring with guys like Tobias Harris and Seth Curry. They have some great bench pieces. I think that team going up against a team like Milwaukee or a team like Brooklyn or a team like Boston, I think the Sixers are going to be a force in the Eastern Conference come later this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And the Sixers, they're not done making moves. They're definitely not done. I've been hearing rumors about Kyle Lowry with the Philadelphia 76ers. Who knows what they have to give up? Most likely it would be picks. I don't see them giving up Seth, but maybe Matisse Thybulle or some player like that who has great young potential. 76ers, they surprised me. I didn't think they were legit at all. I could still be proved wrong, but they can stay healthy, especially Simmons and Joel.
One team in the East I'm surprised by this season is the Charlotte Hornets. What do you think about the Charlotte Hornets?
All right, definitely Charlotte. Charlotte, in the beginning of the year, I said this team is going to be fun to watch, and I've been proven wrong, but I didn't think they'd be this good. I love LaMelo, and LaMelo has been surprising me. I didn't think LaMelo was going to be this good. I knew he was going to be good, but right off the bat, it kind of surprised me. And Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier both averaging over 20 points. I did not see that coming at all. I think the Charlotte Hornets could be a team that brings a Milwaukee-type team to 6 or 7 potentially. They're not going to beat them, but they could maybe have a 6-7 game series.
I see Charlotte sneaking into the playoffs.
Yeah,
the way they don't exactly have like a legitimate superstar, but the way they play, it looks like every player has such great chemistry with one another. You have guys like PJ Washington and Cody Zeller in the front court who aren't exactly the most strongest players, but they're getting great looks and opportunities due to the passes made by like Devontae Graham, LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward. It's a very fun team to watch when you look at their chemistry and what all those players can do together on the court.
Yeah, definitely been fun. And like at our suite, we have the NBA League Pass, and the Charlotte Hornets announcers are one of the best in the game, in my opinion. They're very exciting. They missed some videos going around of them when they beat the Warriors with Terry Rozier buzzer beater. They were going crazy when Draymond got the 2 technical fouls inside the game. I just love Charlotte Hornets. I love how they play. I love the broadcasters. I think it's amazing. But let's go to the guy who's drafted before LaMelo, Anthony Edwards. Is that the dunk of the year?
I think that is the dunk of the year. Anthony Edwards, when I saw that play, I was I was astounded. I saw possibly the dunk of the year. I did not think. Personally, Keith and I, we live in the same suite, and we've made jokes all semester about Anthony Edwards and how he makes too many, tries to be the hero too much. He tries to be that big scoring guy. But I think lately he's slightly turned a corner. He's shooting better numbers. And again, he had that crazy dunk. I think Anthony Edwards, once he matures, he's going to be a great player in the NBA. He can move off the dribble really well. He can score. He can rebound. I think he's going to be a talent the NBA has to watch out for in the next decade.
Yeah, Edwards, I've said it in the past podcast, I'm not a big Edwards fan, but Watanabe, one of my dudes, but he got absolutely dunked on bad. That was a bad dunk, and you're never going to be able to bounce back from that. I think it's going to be the dunk of the year. As of now, 100% is the dunk of the year. I still don't think Edwards is going to be a star. I see him as a J.R. Smith type guy who he's going to be a solid starter, sixth man type guy, but he will be nothing amazing. Not going to be number one pick. I think LaMelo, Wiseman, Patrick Williams, all going to be better dudes. But stay tuned. We're going to go to a quick ad, then we'll be back talking about things like should high schools be allowed in the NBA draft, G League bubble, and more. Stay tuned.
Hey Bobcats, if you're a fan of self-care and natural hair, join Naturally Me. This is an opportunity to become more informed on how to care for and prioritize your mental health and natural beauty. Our meetings are going to start on September 23rd, and they are every other Wednesday at 9:15 via Zoom. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at naturallyme_QU to learn more. Everyone is welcome.
And we are back. Thank you for staying tuned. And we're going to start off right away. Do you think high schools should be eligible to enter the draft?
Here's the thing. So back, obviously, we can go back about 25 years ago. We had the prep to pro generation. You had guys come out of that: Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Kevin Garnett, who went on to have superstar careers. And I think that opportunity should definitely be there. I mean, college is extremely important, but if you know for sure you're going to the NBA, you're going to be a superstar, you are ridiculously filthy at basketball, I think you should have that chance.
Yeah, I agree with that because college, I'm a big college basketball guy. I like seeing the teams that go, veterans type thing. I also had the pleasure of talking with Antonio Davis. I asked him this question back in November. He said he thinks they should be able to go straight out of high school or do 2 years in college. Antonio Davis is a former NBA All-Star of the Toronto Raptors, and I agree with what he thinks. But you see guys right now in the NBA G League, they want to get paid. And Jalen Green, who arguably could be number one pick, Jonathan Kuminga, who's going to be a top 6 pick most likely, Isaiah Todd. There's one other guy, I want to say it's Kai Soto. They're all guys who are going to get drafted pretty high. And we'll have to wait and see, but I think you should be able to go straight out of high school. It's no question. Or you go overseas, like my guy Tony Davis again. He did 3 years overseas, coached by Mike D'Antoni, and he said that made him more of a professional. Well, now let's move on to the G League bubble. Do you think this is a great idea?
I think the G League bubble is a great idea. I love development with NBA players. I think if you're a player and you want to play basketball seriously as a profession, I think the G League is a great opportunity for you to be able to either be on a 2-way contract or just be a G League affiliate for a team. And you could go down, you could develop your skills, you could be scouted, and you could be looked at for not only your NBA team that like in that city of the G League you're in, but also for other NBA teams who might want to use you and get your best potential out of you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sadly, our team, the main Red Claws, is not in the bubble, but I'm loving the bubble. I watched some of the games they're on legitimately from 11 to 10 p.m. They're on all day. They're fun, some fun guys to watch, like Kevin Porter Jr. has been the joke going around like he's LeBron James of the bubble because he should not be in the bubble. He's definitely a solid bench piece for the Houston Rockets, but it's the off-the-court issues. We all know about Kevin Porter Jr. He has to fix those. But hopefully the G League bubble makes him mature more in. My guy is finally starting to heat up in the G League bubble. Bleacher Report posted about him. He had 2 amazing plays today. Alexei Pokusevsky. I love that guy. And I love Oklahoma City overall, the development system. They develop many stars. But I think guys like Alexei Pokusevsky is a perfect example of a dude who needs the G League to develop and they worked out great. Now let's move on. Let's go back to the NBA. And do you think the NBA should eliminate conferences completely?
You see, it goes into, if you were to get my first automatic answer, I would say the NBA should outright eliminate conferences because the Western Conference, as we know, is the superior conference. But at the same time, the conferences are needed in terms of scheduling purposes. In the West, all Western Conference and Eastern Conference teams play each other 3-4 times a year, while the different conferences only play each other twice a year. So in some type of way, the Western Conference teams, who for the most part are better, are playing those better teams more than those Eastern Conference teams who are struggling.
Yeah, one thing I don't think people know about the conferences too, say it comes to playoff time, is say the Boston Celtics was playing the Portland Trail Blazers. That's a lot of traveling. They're gonna have to do a long trip for 2 games home, 2 games away. That's just not gonna work out consistently in the playoffs. I think you have to keep the conferences. The West is much better right now, but you can't get rid of it because it is very needed for distance-wise. Teams
it's
play
needed
closer.
for financial reasons,
Yeah.
and it's needed for essentially the sake of the game. It's just how it is.
Yeah, definitely. I think you need conferences. You can't eliminate that. The Western Conference is much better right now. I want to say the 9th seed, which is the Memphis Grizzlies, would be like the 4th seed right now in the East, which is pretty crazy to think about. But what do you have? What questions do you have to add?
I have a few questions to add as well. So the NBA All-Star game, it's a controversial subject this season with COVID, but the NBA announced recently that it's happening. And personally, how I feel about that, I understand that players should be recognized, but COVID should still be taken. I think COVID should be taken a little more seriously in the NBA. I think that you have these players, they play with their same teammates, but somehow they're still going out, getting COVID, and then their whole team has to isolate. But what if that translates to a scenario where players from different teams are playing with each other, not just on the court, but are also going to be close together in practices and whatnot. I just think it can set something that it can set an all-star game that's really fun to watch and could end up being really safe, but then also there's the potential for the game to have some negative consequences to it as well.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I don't think there should have been players said we don't want to have this dunk contest. There's going to be a dunk contest too, but they don't want an all-star game. I think it's weird how they allow in 4 guests, which I think could backfire because all it takes is one of them getting the COVID-19. That's just not going to be good.
And also, they're trying to have they're gonna have every event in one night.
Yeah, they're gonna
starting
have,
at 5:00. They're gonna have the dunk contest.
I think dunk contest is actually going to be at halftime. That's
dunk
what
contest
they're
will be
playing.
at halftime, but they're gonna have the skills challenge, 3-point contest, and then they're gonna have the actual all-star game. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have more players than just the all-star team go down. I completely understand though that these all-star players should definitely be recognized. Their hard work on the court should be looked at and appreciated by all basketball fans because what they do for their teams is seriously enjoyable to see.
Yeah, we saw in NFL, they had a Madden Pro Bowl game, if you want to count that. They didn't have a Pro Bowl game at all. They still have Pro Bowlers. I just don't think it's a smart thing. The safety's going to be first, and once it gets closer and closer to the All-Star game, I wouldn't be surprised if some players said, I'm not going. I'm not going to be surprised at all if they say that. We'll have to wait and see for more.
All right. What do you think of the players chosen in the All-Star games? Who do you think was the biggest snub? Who do you think should have been chosen as an All-Star but didn't end up getting chosen this season?
I think the biggest one is Damian Lillard. Luka, great guy, but I don't think Luka should have been an All-Star. I think he should be an All-Star, but not an All-Star starter. I think Dame Dollar has been on fire this year. He's been doing better without an all-star caliber player in CJ McCollum and a top 10 center in Yusuf Nurkic. They both are solid guys, and he's not playing with either. And they're still, I want to say that 18-10 right now, which is phenomenal with the pieces they have. He's barely at McCollum, barely at Nurkic, but he's leading this team to an amazing record and needs some more respect. He is a starter. He should be in the MVP conversation if they can get even better. But who do you think was a snub?
I think for years, Bradley Beal, who was finally chosen as a starter in the Eastern Conference, with Russell Westbrook being inconsistent in terms of playing and actual production on the court, I think Bradley Beal has been phenomenal to watch this season for the Washington Wizards. The things he can do with the basketball are insane. He's dropping over 30 points a game, and over the years, he was snubbed every year for an all-star position, and I think that was crazy.
Yeah, I think that was pretty crazy too. I saw some stat today that the most points per game by a non-All-Star, and it was Bradley Beal by not even close. He was averaging 30. In second place was World B. Free in the 70s, averaging about 26, which Beal should have been an All-Star last year, but I love how he's finally getting the respect, and he's an All-Star starter this year.
Yeah, so last night, I believe, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they fired their coach, Ryan Saunders, and they hired the Toronto Raptors assistant coach, former Toronto Raptors assistant coach Chris Finch as their replacement. What do you think about that instant switch and what has come out about it?
I think the Saunders, I've heard another guy interviewed John Krauski, he's a reporter for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he was tweeting out all last night about good things about Ryan Saunders, but the move is needed, and I agree with him at that. Saunders, great dude. His dad, Flip Saunders, rest in peace. He was a great coach. They just couldn't win anything. Saunders will 100% find a job in another place, but they just couldn't get wins. But it's not really that much of his fault because D'Angelo Russell and Cat have only played 5 games together. Russell's out for another month at least. So I think it definitely is a move that was needed. But it was shocking there's no interim. The first time this has happened since 2009 with Alvin Gentry, the Memphis Grizzlies. Chris Finch, I don't know much about him at all. Toronto, I like Nick Nurse, and I feel like Nick Nurse is going to be one of those dudes going to have good assistant coaches. So I think the move is solid. They had a plan. But Minnesota, they always find ways to mess things up. Hopefully they didn't mess it up this time.
The thing is with the Minnesota Timberwolves is it's just, I don't know much about Chris Finch either, but for the most part, you have a bunch of guys who don't seem to have too much chemistry with one another on this Minnesota Timberwolves team. You have Karl Anthony Towns, who is your best player, and then you also have D'Angelo Russell, who's been falling off a little bit. You have some free agents like Malik Beasley, who came in, who's gotten you some good scoring. But I think the Minnesota Timberwolves, if they're going to get some more wins, they just need a little bit more chemistry with the team they have. I think they're just stuck in this situation right now where they're trying to go out and they're trying to find more players. They're trying to get better on defense, and it's just a scenario. It's going to take a couple of years or whatever for them to even be thought about as a potential contender.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Right now, they only have 7 wins and the worst team record-wise in the NBA, but people don't talk about enough how the Golden State Warriors have their pick. It is top 3 unprotected next season. But if that picks fall inside the top 3, and the Golden State Warriors get the 4th or 5th pick, that is going to be absolutely insane. And it's going to hurt the Minnesota Timberwolves. Because this year, there are some dudes who are going to be pretty good. I like this draft class. There's some guys who could fit in with the Golden State Warriors system. Do you think that's going to backfire, that D'Angelo Russell trade?
I think it is, yes, I think it is going to backfire, the D'Angelo Russell trade, because the Warriors so far have rebounded quite nicely from that trade.
Wiggins been nice.
Andrew Wiggins, great player, who's in the starting shooting guard for Klay Thompson. Kelly Oubre, who didn't have the best start with the Warriors, but has been really coming alive as that second scoring option. And if they have a top 5 pick next year, along with Klay Thompson coming back, I don't know how the Warriors' salary cap situation looks, but if they can keep the majority of their players, the Warriors could end up being a threat in the Western Conference next year.
Yeah, definitely will, because they have Steph Curry's under contract, Klay's under contract, Wiggins under contract, Oubre. Draymond's a free agent, and even though Draymond doesn't have those stats, but they need him on that team. They're not going to go to the Western Conference Finals with Draymond.
I think there's going to be a chance Draymond retires a Warrior.
Yeah, I don't see him leaving the Warriors. If they could get this top pick, and maybe they're like, let's go for a trade. Let's try to trade Wiggins and Oubre for some star. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to go back to Minnesota if Karl Anthony Towns requested this trade. I said this before the year that I think the Washington Wizards should make a real move for Karl Anthony Towns, because that team isn't a real contender in Washington, but I think Karl Anthony Towns. They have good young pieces who they haven't been amazing, but I like Denny Avdia. I like the other young pieces they have there. They can make a real move for Karl Anthony Towns. Do you think Washington should make a trade?
I think Washington is one of the teams that should make a trade for Karl Anthony Towns. I think if they have that... Look, so the Washington Wizards, they have Thomas Bryant. He's an all-right center, but I think if the Washington Wizards want to make a serious run at any type of playoff contention, you're going to need somebody like Karl Anthony Towns. You have Russell Westbrook. You have Bradley Beal. There's a guy I really like. He's on one of my fantasy teams, Rui Hachimura. He's from Japan, and I think in a couple of years, he's going to be a great wing in the league, and he's just going to be a guy that teams are going to talk about more. He drives to the hole. He shoots. He defends. Him, Denny Avdia. They have some solid guys on the bench like Garrison Matthews, Raul Neto, and I think if they can come together with a good enough trade package to try to get Karl Anthony Towns and also Davis Bertans, who just came back from his injury, but the Washington Wizards could be an interesting team in the next coming couple of years.
Yeah, Washington, definitely a team to watch, but they need to make a trade for a star. There's no question. If they don't make a trade for a star, that they aren't going anywhere. It's going to be even more waste of talent to the great guy, Bradley Beal. But do you have anything else to add?
Earlier we brought up Robert Williams, and as Celtics fans, I think we can both say Robert Williams has had such an impactful season so far. This guy has almost been considered a third, fourth scoring option for the Boston Celtics. In his third year of play, he's really come out as this lob threat, this 6'8" but 7'6" wingspan. He's very exciting to watch. I love when Celtics point guards get him in the pick and roll and he goes up with certain lobs. It just brings a certain aggression to the team that the Celtics could honestly use. And the Celtics haven't had a guy like that in a very long time. So seeing a guy like Robert Williams who can go up for putback dunks and nice alley-oop finishes is very exciting to see as a Celtics fan.
Yeah, I think Robert Williams definitely been a surprise. He is a great pick and roll guy for the lobs. As the only real concern I have for him, he's great defensively, assertive, but pick and roll, he's had trouble when he gets a switch. If he can improve on that, I don't see him as I see him as a solid center like a JaVale McGee. That's what I think.
I see his ceiling as like a DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think that the one thing, like you said, about Time Lord's game that I would personally improve is his defense off the pick and roll, because sometimes guys blow right by him and it can be a little jarring to see. But when Time Lord steps up on defense and he also steps up on offense as well, he's a great player for any team to have.
Yeah, definitely a thing to watch in the future. But that's all we have for today. We're going to be right back, 8 o'clock Monday, same place, WQAQ 98.1, Hamden, Connecticut. But I am out. I am here, Keith Savage with Jakob Potemri. We are out. Have a great day.